Hello, ladies and gents, Hagbard Celine here on this beautiful Wednesday evening, and as I sat down to do this video, I recalled a brief conversation I believe I had yesterday with one of my viewers saying that I was going to try and back off the feminism videos because frankly there's nothing for them left to say. Now, I agreed to this premise and said that I would spread this page's influence out to include basically all concepts encompassed by regressive thought. However, there's no way in the world I could have ever known that today would be the release date for Jonathan McIntosh's new video. You can't possibly blame me for not being able to hold back on this one, guys. I know everyone else is going to or has done a video on it, and if you want, go have fun with them. But I'm going to punch him in the face a couple times myself. After the shooting today, it makes me feel better. It makes me realize that not all of the evil I face in this world actually can kill me. I'm fairly certain I could take Jonathan McIntosh. But anyway, here we go.
For many men, it can be hard to know exactly what role we can or should play in working towards an end to sexism.
Wow, man, not even the fake-ass hi like I usually get from you guys, just a straight out assault out the gates, man. Okay, I guess it's not too presumptuous to think that we know who you are already. Continue.
How can men help, and how much or how little should we be helping?
Well, if you listen to modern feminism, essentially men have to do everything. I'm not even being facetious. It's literally they are calling for male allies because I guess without us they can't accomplish anything. I don't know.
In this video, we will explore answers to those questions and share a few suggestions about how men can respectfully approach feminism and, critically, explain why it's beneficial for men to be involved.
So you'll answer the non-question that you made up and then teach me to be respectful of feminism? Man, your mother did a real number on you, old John boy.
First things first, because there's so much misinformation about feminism floating around out there in the cultural ether, it's useful to quickly define what that term actually means.
No, John boy, you do not get to spam this shit at me again. We have seen this 1,000 times. We know it has absolutely nothing to do with real feminism, and we also know you guys have no respect for dictionaries whatsoever. Do not try and pull this dumb shit on us. It's unacceptable bullshit behavior.
It's important to note that the feminist endeavor, as it's been defined by women like Bell Hooks,
You're using that racist cunt, really? She's your source? She doesn't even capitalize her name, man. She's completely off her rocker.
does not simply seek equal access for women within current systems of power, but instead seeks to transform those systems and the values associated with them.
For any layman in the audience, that basically translates sociologically to, we have no plan, we intend to sit around and whinge until we emotionally change enough people's minds that this appears to make sense to them. You don't actually have a plan. You don't have any action you can take to make what you're saying you want happen to actually happen. No, that's not in your game plan. Your game plan is to continue to endlessly make money off of this.
So where do men fit into all of this? Well, women have long been pointing out the ways in which men can benefit from feminism, and actively calling for men's participation in working towards ending sexism. As Bell Hooks writes in her landmark 1984 book, Feminist Theory from Margin to Center, like women, men have been socialized to passively accept sexist ideology. While they need not blame themselves for accepting sexism, they must assume responsibility for eliminating it. Men are not exploited or oppressed by sexism, but there are ways in which they suffer as a result of it.
First and foremost, that statement struggles with its own internal logic. It's like you're suffering from doublespeak. Women are oppressed, but men suffer too. How are they suffering if they're not being oppressed by the system? And how does one define oppression if not through suffering? It certainly isn't financial. You have laws about that now. So all you're measuring it in is feels. So you're saying men's feels are a problem too, but not oppression. Funny, your book was written in 1984. Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
That bears repeating. Men are not exploited or oppressed by sexism, but there are ways in which we suffer as a result of it.
Of course, you would just parrot that line without thinking about it, 'cause listen and believe. Not only did a woman say it, a black woman said it, so I certainly can't disagree with her.
We are taught early on that boys don't cry, that to show sensitivity or emotional vulnerability is a sign of weakness. Men are discouraged from practicing nurturing, caregiving, compassion, and compromise for the same reasons. So there is an enormous amount of pressure placed on men to prove our manhood by acting tough, projecting strength, and repressing our emotions. This is compounded by the fact that men are often more admired for being aggressive, dominant, and violent than for being cooperative, vulnerable, and empathetic. Not only is all of this damaging behavior encouraged in individual men, but those same values are also reflected in our larger political and military institutions, often to disastrous effect.
So you're one of these freaky nut jobs that think the military should be feminized? Have you seen the new Army Corps training manuals? It's happened, and it's not going to help our warriors win at all. That's not how you train a warrior to be a coddled sissy. It just doesn't work.
So while men as a group are afforded gender-based privileges at the expense of women, a byproduct of patriarchy is that it also causes real harm to men's well-being.
You think that makes sense, Jonathan? It doesn't.
Okay, so if we're on board with ending sexism, what specifically can we do as men to be helpful?
Tell
Here's our
feminists
quick
to
list
fuck
of
off.
5 tips for respectfully engaging with feminism as men. Listen to women. Now that might seem really obvious, but far too often men have a hard time just listening to what women have to say and respecting women's knowledge and experiences.
Ah, yes, Anita's first talking point. Listen and believe. Nothing bad could ever happen as long as you're listening to a woman.
Because of the way we're socialized to think of our voices as most important, men have a tendency to interrupt and interject ourselves into conversations and then to dominate those interactions. This behavior is so ingrained that men often don't even realize we're doing it, which is why it's critical to learn how to take a step back, to try not to interrupt, and instead actively listen and absorb what is being said before responding.
Well, now that I've respectfully waited for you to finish, as I wouldn't want to rudely interject in on a woman, which I'm officially giving you the title of, I shouldn't just be forced to listen to the belief systems of women because they're women. That's sexism, Jonathan.
Now, of course, this does not mean you have to agree with everything every individual woman says. No one person's perspective can ever represent all of feminism or the experiences of all women. It simply means that we, as men, are not in a position to define feminism for women.
Of course not. Men are filthy kuffar. I wouldn't expect anything different.
And that we should actively pay attention to women's voices, because for so long, women's experiences, women's perspectives, and women's ideas have been dismissed, ignored, and silenced. It's especially vital to listen to women of color, particularly Black and Indigenous women, because, as feminist scholars have long pointed out, sexism is compounded when it's combined with racism and other forms of oppression. Back in 1989, Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality as part of her theory to describe these layered experiences that leave some women more disenfranchised than others.
So, a racially obsessed, sexist navel gazer writes a book that redefines words to fit her prerogatives, and you guys just find her a new religion, huh? Okay.
It's important for us, as men, to acknowledge that when we talk about feminism, we follow the lead of women.
Yes, John Boy, there's a good puppy. There's a good puppy. You follow your masters. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, 'cause you're a good puppy.
Yet while feminist ideas do originate with women, that does not mean that it's the responsibility of every woman to teach all men about sexism. So we shouldn't go around interrogating or demanding answers from women.
So you're saying point 2 is point 1 rephrased for brainwashing purposes or something? I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about.
Instead, we should be proactive in doing the work ourselves by committing to continuous, lifelong learning. Lucky for us, over the past century, feminist scholars have written volumes on the topic.
Because they have to keep their position at universities, you fucking moron who doesn't seem to recognize this is an industry.
So here are some suggested readings about feminism and how patriarchy operates as a social system.
Skip! Big skip. My audience can check this out on their own if they want.
The place where men can be most helpful in regards to feminism is first within ourselves and then amongst other men.
You PC, bro? I don't think you're being PC right now, bro. I just don't think you're being very PC about it all. In all seriousness, you're literally saying that feminists or women are asking men to handle other men because they can't. That's what this movement is doing.
Patriarchy encourages men to buy into sexist thinking and at the very least remain complacent in sexism through our silence. So instead, step off the path of least resistance and dare to make yourself and other men uncomfortable about sexism. Let the other men around you know that their sexist behavior is not okay. For example, when you stand up and say that a sexist joke is not funny, the men telling that joke can no longer be assured that they will go unchallenged the next time they tell it.
Yes, that's the big evil you're fighting against, Jonathan. Jokes. You're fighting against jokes. I do wonder what would happen if someone drew a bad cartoon of the prophet Anita. I do.
In other words, those men can no longer count on other men to accept or go along with their sexism. Interrupting the sexist status quo is a simple yet powerful way that all men can make a difference.
Or the fastest route to become irrelevant, friendless, and alone. And an object of ridicule, like you, McIntosh. Like you.
If you make a comment and a woman dismisses or disagrees with you, don't take it personally. She doesn't owe you anything, and her disagreement does not necessarily mean that she's angry or frustrated with you as an individual.
The doublethink, man! Oh my god, listen and believe to women, and don't challenge them, and if they challenge you, don't dare defend yourself. You're an insane person. You are a crazy man, Jonathan McIntosh. You're a madman. And you're a disgusting subhuman wretch of a creature, incapable of critical thought. You don't deserve a platform. Your fuck buddy doesn't deserve a platform. And I wish neither one of you had one. But as long as you do, I will be using you as punching bags. Because your points are meaningless.
That being said, it's completely understandable for women to express anger about sexism. Sexism should make everyone angry. After all, most women have some first-hand experience with violence, or harassment, or mistreatment at the hands of men. Sometimes even men who claim to be allies. So don't get defensive if individual women don't want to engage with you. And remember that it's definitely not our job to police the ways that women may choose to speak about sexism or their experiences.
No, of course not, because you're a beta fuck, and it's impossible for you to have your own opinions or stand up for anything you believe in. It is jobs women to police your language and beliefs, though. You don't get a say, do you, little John boy? You know what? Since you don't get a say, I'm not going to even let you finish your last point. Fuck your last point. Fuck your last point so very hard. I'm not even going to bother to watch it. I didn't watch this video the whole way through the first time. I'm not going to finish the fifth point now. Not even out of spite. It's because I'm only allotted 15-minute episodes because of the last feminist cunt that flagged my videos. So, as opposed to even bothering to waste my time cutting a second mini video to advertise this one, I'm gonna post this one on my main site, so I've got to keep it under 15 minutes. Don't take it personally, John boy. It's disgusting what you and yours have done to A, the world, and B, even the concept of feminism, which in its original form had some functionality. In its current form, it's regressive, backwards, sexist thinking. You actually think women are weaker than men. Holy shit. Congratulations, Jonathan McIntosh. You're everything you hate. You just don't see it. I hope you go to an early grave completely unassisted by your own fucking depression. That's what I hope. And to borrow from Dr. Random Cam, fuck the fuck off.